Right, so the Green Party is on course to apparently take a sizeable chunk of Labour voters according to a recent YouGov survey. But with half of voters set to go to either them or the Lib Dems, how can the Greens make sure they go their way then? Ed Davey's party is mopping up votes across rural England as the local elections showed, the rejection of Tories, Labour and Reform certainly benefiting them more than it did the Greens, even though the Greens did make gains. And yet you have the co-leadership hopefuls Adrian Ramsey, one half of the current Green leadership, and Ellie Chowns saying, stick with us, we're MPs now, we know what we're doing there for, and that is the reason you should back them. Well, you weren't an MP before you became leader, Adrian. In fact, no Green leader ever has been. So it's a strange pitch. And it sounds like we're the credible ones here now. We're now part of the system. Now, I don't say that out of spite at all. I just think that when people across the country are crying out for change, which is why Reform have done so well, despite being another Farage and Tice con job, you aren't exactly saying you're it, are you? And so then we come to the insurgent, therefore, Zack Polanski, not an MP. He is on the London Assembly, but he is talking about change too. He is saying what he'd do differently. He is saying he'll shake up the party and broaden its appeal, because it is only by doing that that more Green MPs will be elected. And he's already talking about what he plans to do. And it is driving the conversation around the Green Party election right now. And with the attacks on him personally already being made, a sure sign the establishment is being made nervous by him, clearly he is the one to watch here. And he's the one I'll be endorsing as a result. Right, so to say there's a lot of political disillusionment across England and Wales right now would be a bit of an understatement, wouldn't it? The public are fed up, they are incensed, they are angry. Starmer lied to them about what he said he would do in power, didn't he? No surprise to many of us who already had him long pegged, but they aren't alone. All of the mainstream parties, Labour, Conservatives, even the Liberal Democrats, still largely unforgiven by a lot of people for the coalition years, rightly so in my view, have found themselves targets of justified public outrage for failing to answer to the everyday concerns of ordinary working class people. Where many eyes and many votes have gone to Reform UK as a result of this, the Green Party of England and Wales is in an interesting place right now, because they have an upcoming leadership election, in case you weren't already aware. And this election is not just going to be a question of who will wear the mantle of leadership, but it's going to be a defining moment about what kind of party the Greens wish to become going forwards, if they wish to change at all, and how they can capitalise on the Tory and Labour collapses for the most part, whilst also seeing off Reform UK. Do they intend to grow into a vibrant insurgent force challenging the system from the outside? Or do they opt for a comfortable position within the very establishment that people now distrust more than ever before? Because that fundamentally is the choice, as I see it, going into these elections. The decision between these two paths being exemplified by the contrast between the campaign of Zack Polanski and that of co-leadership hopefuls Adrian Ramsey and Ellie Chowns. Now, Adrian Ramsey and Ellie Chowns are not without their achievements, of course. They should be acknowledged. Both are sitting MPs, having recently won seats in rural constituencies that only 9 months ago, seeing off the Lib Dems as they did. Ramsey winning a new seat, Chowns squashing a 25,000 vote Tory majority. Not an insignificant achievement at all. However, their very success now forms the basis of a problematic and rather systemic leadership bid. In their pitch, they are arguing that the Green Party's leadership should be composed of sitting MPs because that lends credibility. But herein lies the paradox. No Green Party leader has ever been elected to Parliament before taking the helm. From Caroline Lucas to Sean Berry, leadership within the party has historically always come from outside Parliament, driven by grassroots activism as the party is supported by. So let's set the scene here. And to do that, let's go back to the last set of leadership elections back in 2021, because it's important we do so. Ramsey campaigned alongside Carla Denyer, of course, in that leadership bid that was built on a platform of vote for us. We look like we're probably going to become MPs at the next election because they just happen to be in the right places, and that was their pitch then. And they were absolutely telling the truth in that. Both of them did become MPs, of course. But that contrasted heavily with the more radical left-wing option that was standing against them, that was put forth by Amelia Womack, who was the then deputy leader of the Green Party before Zack Polanski, and Tamsin Omand, who was one of the founders of Extinction Rebellion. That was a race that, looking back on it, revealed lines within the party between those looking to scale the machinery of governance and those determined to challenge that narrative. Ramsey and Denyer's bid triumphed, of course, but as recent polling from YouGov has shown, they haven't exactly set the electorate on fire or burned down the system from within either. So the lesson is clear, therefore. Credibility does not come from simply being part of that system, does it? The Ramsey-Denyer bid before and the Ramsey-Chowns bid now, it comes from challenging that. And I just don't see that happening from them. Zack Polanski's leadership bid, by contrast, is not merely an alternative, it's essential. The Greens can either content themselves with a few more local councillors each year, no knocking the fact the party has grown at local level 8 years running. We can't ignore achievements have been made, of course. Holding parliamentary seats they've got. Maybe get another 1 or 2, depending on which polls you happen to be looking at. Or they can stand for real change, break through into greater public perception, and be the radical change this country needs, instead of letting Reform UK dominate the headlines, dominate those narratives and media television time slots day in and day out. Frustrated with the complacency of institutional politics, Zack Polanski has entered the race, therefore, with a message that I think is far more directly reflective of the mood of the nation, which is much more along the lines of break the wheel, don't just join it. Polanski's brand of eco-populism seeks to refocus the climate agenda away from punitive top-down policies and towards a more progressive, redistributive approach. He argues passionately that the cost of the green transition should not fall on the shoulders of the working class, like the cost of everything always seems to. Instead, the state and the wealthy, those who have long profited from environmental degradation, should bear the brunt. He has called out the government for a net zero strategy that punishes the poor. A Green criticising a net zero approach? Yeah, but because it has been used to turn environmentalism into a scapegoat rather than a solution. The classic narrative of Reform UK on such things, as it happens. Polanski has shown his mettle repeatedly, taking the fight to those many dare not criticise. He recently laid into Tony Blair after the former Prime Minister intervened on those net zero targets. He was poor as they already are, as they're being offered by Labour, the cost of them being put on we ordinary working class people. But Blair and his ties to fossil fuels was saying that any strategy to phase those out would be folly. To which Polanski coolly stated that Blair should just be silent at this point. God knows, so many of us wish he would, don't we? But this is yet another example of elite figures undermining climate justice whilst evading personal accountability. But it is being challenged in a way that so rarely happens, least of all in political leaders these days. Yet here we have a chance of having one so that it can be put in a position to do that an awful lot more. He's openly questioned the role of NATO, saying we should get out of it, positioning himself as a rare voice of international moral clarity right now, in a political climate where military alliances go unquestioned and too often military action ends up superseding diplomacy. It's been a bone of contention for a lot of people on the left that the Greens back NATO. Not all of us do, as it happens. Polanski evidently doesn't, just like I don't. On migration too, Polanski is a voice of rare moral courage. Whilst Labour's Keir Starmer invokes Enoch Powell to address migration concerns, Polanski makes the moral and practical case for welcoming migrants. What Starmer said he would do, but didn't, that he lied about. Polanski has identified the true crisis as being a lack of housing for ordinary people, opportunity for ordinary people, conditions that make migrants convenient scapegoats for those failures that are fundamentally systemic, a result of the same sort of governance being put forth time after time, no matter what colour rosette the politicians in power happen to be wearing. A reminder that the establishment wheel needs someone to break it. Leadership hopefuls justifying being spokes on that wheel, as the Ramsey and Chowns leadership bid sounds, as a reason to back them, just isn't going to do that, is it? Polanski's stance on Israel and Palestine is equally fearless. A Jewish man, as he is, raised in a Zionist household at that, as he was. Yet he has rejected Zionism wholesale and stood vocally against the ongoing atrocities in Gaza. Unlike many politicians who have been muted or evasive or supportive, worst of all, Polanski has been clear, calling out the genocide time after time and demanding justice for the people of Palestine. He has faced relentless attacks from parts of the Jewish communities as a result, with outlets like the Jewish Chronicle publishing 2 hit pieces within 2 days of his leadership announcement. Scared much, guys? Accusations of anti-Semitism have been levied against him because of course they have. Not for any hateful conduct, but because his principles deviate from that narrow, politically weaponised orthodoxy that is required of our politicians these days. And he's also quite pally with Jeremy Corbyn these days as well, which will have Zionists wailing falsehoods all day long, all on its own. But we're all wise to it all now, aren't we? Aren't we? This has only served to prove how much of a threat Polanski represents to entrenched interests. The viciousness of the attacks is in direct proportion to how seriously the establishment takes his challenge. Polanski's appeal isn't just ideological, it is strategic. While Ramsey and Chowns, Denyer as well arguably, struggled to build name recognition, with one recent poll showing 82% of respondents didn't know who Ramsey even was, and only 4% viewed him positively, Polanski has become a regular media presence. It doesn't say much for Ramsey, having been the co-leader of the Greens for 3 years now, does it? That next to nobody knows who he is. Despite not being an MP, despite being a Green, and how little media time they always get, Polanski has consistently punched above his weight in this respect and across public discourse. He's made the case that recognition matters, not for personal vanity, but because it opens doors for the movement as a whole. If you challenge establishment narratives, if you speak out on the big issues in challenge to mainstream views, and you get to do it on a platform where lots of people are going to hear you, well, it's going to take notice, and then you get breakthrough. It's what Farage does every single day, but unlike him, Polanski doesn't need to lie to do it. One of the Green Party's biggest obstacles is its lack of recognisable leadership. In contrast, Polanski's communication style, his perceptive media interviews, his social media savvy have positioned him as one of the few Green figures with real national resonance, and this could give him a chance to grow that tenfold. Yet even he admits the party still lacks a platform, a deficit he is determined to correct. Polanski understands that the next frontier for the Greens is in urban constituencies as well, and this comes at the expense of Ramsey and Chowns, I think. Of the 39 seats the Greens came second to Labour in 2024, most of them were in urban areas, precisely where Polanski's message of bold climate justice and economic transformation resonates the strongest, standing for ordinary working class people. He's London Assembly, his seat is in Hackney, he hails from Salford. Chowns and Ramsey represent rural constituencies that saw them win just ahead of the Lib Dems at a point they were floundering at a point in the local elections, at a point in the general election even, where they still hadn't been forgiven for the coalition. But as the local elections earlier this month have implied, that no longer is necessarily the case. They did very well. So it seems by contrast, Ramsey and Chowns are disconnected from this political reality that the Greens base, the chances or the places that they've got the best opportunity are going to be in more urban areas than their rural seats. Moreover, Polanski wants more people joining the party too, growing it as the next major grassroots movement, funded entirely, as the party is, by membership. That sounds somewhat familiar to some of us on the left, doesn't it? Polanski has said in a recent interview that many of the people who could become the next generation of Green MPs probably aren't even party members yet. Growing the membership and radically expanding the party's appeal is central to his agenda. He has spoken openly about welcoming defectors from Labour even, those disillusioned with Starmer's rightward lurch. He's dropped names from the Labour left who might be looking for a genuine political home. He's also said he'd welcome Corbyn into the party if he fancied it. He's not afraid to say it. A persistent criticism of the Greens is that they are a party of middle-class white people, well-meaning but disconnected from working-class reality. Polanski is determined to change that. That's not his background. He's framed Reform UK, currently surging in the polls, as a party of millionaires representing billionaires cosplaying as allies of the working class, and he's absolutely right in that. So he wants the Greens to be the true, legitimate alternative, working class rooted, anti-austerity, ecologically principled, but not burdened with having to pay for all of it. The wealthy would have to cough up their share. The only party right now that would genuinely do that. Reform are millionaires backed by billionaires, so they won't do that. So are the Tories, so are Labour, and Ed Davey of the Lib Dems, former coalition minister as he is talking of sucking up Tory votes and becoming the new home of conservatism. People have turned to Reform not because they love far-right politics, the mistake that's being made by the McSweeneys and the Starmers of the Labour Party, but because they're angry, and they're saying what they want to hear, and they get the media time to say it. People feel abandoned. Rightly so. They want a politics that understands why their lives are hard and offer real solutions to that. And Reform is selling them snake oil right now. Polanski, on the other hand, is the only Green leadership candidate who seems to understand this and is prepared to fight Reform, not by mimicking them or appeasing them like Starmer, but by challenging them on the very system that birthed them and feeds them. Despite all of this, I'd go so far as to say because of all of this, Polanski has been unfairly maligned, not just by the right-wing press, but even within the party. Green peer Jenny Jones insinuated that Polanski supporters are attacking other candidates, which should not be happening. We should be all inclusive and all encompassing in the Green Party. We all have to work together at the end of the day, no matter who becomes leader after all. But Jones put out a tweet saying, "Hi Zack Polanski, some of your supporters are slagging off Adrian Ramsey and Ellie Chowns. Could you ask anyone backing you to stay polite? Supporting you is their absolute right, but no need to be nasty about others. Whatever the result, we all have to work together afterwards." And she tagged Ramsey and Chowns into that tweet as well. Surely a DM or an email would have been more fitting, more appropriate, so why make that public then? But Polanski kept it classy. He replied, "Hey Jenny, totally agree that we'll have to come together as a party to win and to succeed. We've all had some crap this election already, and I know we all reject it sincerely." It had all the hallmarks of the old Chukka Amuna attack on Jeremy Corbyn when he came in for some flack saying call off the dogs. Polanski has no control of social media. People should keep this classy, shouldn't go all out attacking other candidates abusively. That's not helpful. But Jenny Jones's passive-aggressive swipe at Polanski here in the public domain was a bit of a low blow, I thought. She is backing Ramsey and Chowns, incidentally, and shows there are those in the Green Party fearing change. Remember when so many of us socialists joined Labour to back Corbyn, though? This feels like that again. An opportunity to join something bigger and be part of something bigger, backing an insurgency, a movement for change by backing Zack. These accusations, they're not just in poor taste, they reveal a deeper fear amongst some in the Green Party that genuine change may actually be within reach, and they quite like their party just the way it is. But real change won't come passively like that. Corbyn played it nice. We saw what happened to him. So instead, change must be demanded. And Polanski's got a bit of a louder voice in that respect. It must be voted for. It must be fought for. It must be defended if needs be. It is our right after all. That is why it is so crucial that those inspired by Polanski's vision join the Green Party before the end of June and cast their vote in this leadership contest. Because you can have a vote in this, folks. This leadership election is about more than the future of the Green Party. It's about the future of British politics. Zack Polanski is not just running to lead the Greens. He is running to remake them into the party the country needs right now, which is one that is bold and fearless and inclusive of the ordinary working class people and unafraid to speak uncomfortable truths to power. In a time when the public is crying out for some leadership, actual, genuine leadership that actually represents them, the Green Party's got a unique opportunity before it right now. And so do all of you who might be watching this if you choose to join us. It can choose to remain a small, respectable voice within a broken system, or the Green Party can choose Zack Polanski and become the megaphone for a movement ready to break the system apart, break that wheel and build something better. So the choice is clear. The future is calling. Will the Greens answer? Will you be part of them saying hell yes? I will be. Back, Zack. For an insight into what the Greens are fighting for here, get a load of what the same YouGov poll had to say about Starmer, and this video recommendation here is your suggested next watch. Historically bad stuff, as it is for him. Please do also hit like, share and subscribe if you haven't done so already, so as to ensure you don't miss out on all new daily content, sort of spreading the word and helping to support the channel at the very same time, which is massively appreciated, holding power to account for ordinary working class people, and I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.